Jim Newell is a politics writer for Slate, and Steve Chaggaris is CBS News political editor, both joining me now. Steve, what's your reaction here?
Well, look at the timing on this, right? We're all talking about Marco Rubio and how aggressive he got with Trump at the debate last night, and that's all anybody talked about this morning. Marco Rubio's reaction to that debate, calling Trump a con artist, and then the Trump card is Chris Christie, who is the guy who went after Marco Rubio in a previous debate and put Marco Rubio in a very uncomfortable situation. It's very, very interesting how Trump is able to sort of manage to come up with something as interesting, as newsworthy, as whatever negative stories are surrounding him. I remember when the Sarah Palin announcement came, the endorsement came, and he was battling bad poll numbers in Iowa. Cruz had just taken over in the polls in Iowa, and it was also the day after he spoke at Liberty University, and he said infamously 2 Corinthians of 2 Corinthians, and he was getting a lot of flack for that, and he brought out the Sarah Palin endorsement, and we didn't talk about that other stuff for a while.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting that all the headlines today have been about Marco Rubio's takedown of Donald Trump, and yet now Donald Trump effectively takes that spotlight and turns it 180 degrees away from Marco Rubio and back at himself. Let's talk about the real impact of this, because you have a New York City born and bred big name, a guy who is comfortable in country clubs and boardrooms and all the places that when you hear people talking about Wall Street fat cats, Donald Trump has been right there, even though he's an entrepreneur and a real estate investor and things like that. What's the real impact of having another East Coast bigwig endorse him? Jim?
Well, I think it's really interesting. It's hard to tell if any individual endorsement is going to really change a game in the long run, but I do think it's just amazing, as we were talking about, how Rubio could be on this roll. He could be mocking Trump, getting a little traction, and then Trump brings out not just a major endorsement, but someone who really torments Rubio, someone who knocked Rubio out in New Hampshire. It didn't help Christie much at all, and then he went away, but now he's coming back. And I think it's really just interesting that, you know, Christie, what surprises me is it seemed like he was a party man always.
And chose the future of the party and the well-being of the party before potentially his own ambition. The thing was, I never could understand when we were in that moment and watching Christie take down Marco Rubio. Remember, Steve, in the days afterwards, I said, I don't understand. Like, here's a guy who espouses a lot of those similar views as Chris Christie. He's a guy who knows how to compromise, how to reach across the aisle and work with members of the opposing party to get things done. Why wouldn't he take on Donald Trump? And now there are stories coming out of what was the Christie campaign about Christie's reluctance to take down Donald Trump. And if anybody has the charisma, the bare-knuckled brass tactics, able to take down a guy like Trump, the kind of big personality, bulldog, some would say bully personality in New Jersey, he's earned that reputation, to take down Donald Trump, it was Chris Christie. So what does Chris Christie get out of an endorsement like this?
Well, you just mentioned the well-being and the future of the party, and that's what the debate is going on in the Republican Party right now. Is Marco Rubio really both of those things? I don't know the answer to that question, but clearly Chris Christie doesn't think that that's the answer. He thinks that Rubio is a lightweight, as somebody who has been in the Senate for a few years and has no experience and has no accomplishments to get him to the point where he should be president of the United States. And so Christie is suggesting, I mean, this is a clear play. There's a couple things going on here. First of all, Trump is obviously using this endorsement to deflect any kind of criticism that he got from his debate performance last night and what Rubio has been leveling at him. And secondly, this is Christie basically showing that he doesn't want Marco Rubio to be the nominee. And so the timing of this, going after Rubio.
But come on, Steve. He gets asked, here's Chris Christie in the news conference getting asked, hey, are you after the vice presidential slot? What are you going to get, a cabinet position? And he sort of grins and steps back and says, no, my turn doesn't end. My expectation is that I'm going to fulfill my obligation to the New Jersey voters. But he doesn't.
Look, I can tell you what we've seen. And what we've seen is clearly Chris Christie is not a fan of Marco Rubio, right? We saw that in that debate. He just slashed and burned that guy and basically killed Rubio's chances in New Hampshire. There's a very clear, I wouldn't say the word hatred, but he's just not a fan of Marco Rubio, obviously. He doesn't think that Rubio should be the nominee of this party. And so what happened? They watched the debate last night. He saw what happened, and I don't know. I'm not going to get into Chris Christie's head to suggest that that's what pushed him to do this endorsement today. But the timing of this is very clear that, and Christie said it, he doesn't think that Rubio is ready to be the nominee of the party, so comes out and endorses Trump. Now, you pointed out that Christie didn't go after Trump much during the campaign. Maybe there is a friendship there. Maybe there is a sense that Christie does believe that Trump would be the best nominee for the party. But what is very clear is that he doesn't like Marco Rubio, and I think that's probably part of what's going on here today.